War has come to the mountains of northern Iraq. As Turkey pursues Kurdish militants to their remote hideouts, its military action has also killed hundreds of civilians.
بس يريدون عالم ينهزم من هاي المناطق، يعني يصير منطقة عسكرية متروكة، بس هذا يريدون.
BBC Eye Investigations has gained exclusive access to what's known here as the Forbidden Zone.
کس نشد بشتی تو بچی بود که تو بچی ویرا قصد که چای کیستی خوچویه چون کیستی خوچو.
Using satellite imagery, we reveal the full extent of Turkey's military footprint.
Bölücü örgütün, unutmayın, son çırpınışlarıdır.
And we expose how Kurdistan's ruling party has enabled Turkey's hidden war. Our investigation begins with a journey into the remote mountains of Iraqi Kurdistan, close to the border with Turkey. This is what's known as the Forbidden Zone. It's the area affected by the conflict between Turkey and the PKK, a militant Kurdish nationalist group. PKK fighters have long used these mountains as a base for their operations across the border in Turkey. Since 1984, the conflict has claimed more than 40,000 lives, many of them civilians. After decades of fighting, hundreds of villages in northern Iraq have been abandoned. People are advised not to come here because they risk being hit by Turkish air or drone strikes. But some are prepared to take that risk. This is Hashem Shakar. His family were forced to leave in the 1990s, but he still depends on this land to make ends meet.
اجا اول پوج بیو ها بیجا آخره چند پیش بوسحکی یعنی خر سبب طیاره ترکی طیاره رامید بیرکر و ساگر بر بو ویچیو خر صوت حتی گشته بیره اول صوت اول همین صوتن
We're high in the Gara Mountains and inside the Forbidden Zone. It spans almost the entire length of Iraq's northern border and extends up to 40 kilometers deep. It covers thousands of square kilometers of Iraqi land. These ruins are all that's left of Hashem's village.
خدا کو دنگ طاورتتن بزين بس ما مجبوري ملكي ما مجبوري
ملكي ما
خدي باكا قلت اوفو بيتنو هامي كسو كوريت ظلامي من بين اري والله اجي حاسد جنب بما قال هو بما ايه
مثلا حريكن جيزن سبيندورن سيفن خوخن مشمجانا تريا وخر بس بوتشا بركو خروبيو خرو باردو ابيرو مودي چكو دلويرا چكاي بس بو بروي مشكيلو باكاكو طياره تركي عالم نيري بتايره
The PKK, or Kurdistan Workers' Party, is an armed guerrilla movement founded in Turkey in 1978. At first, its goal was the creation of a state for the 30 million Kurds spread across Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. It's long been designated a terrorist organization by Turkey and many Western nations. Driven underground by Turkish military action, the PKK's fighters operate from caves and tunnels in the mountains of Iraq. One evening in August 2023, Hashim and his cousin were driving near his village. They were targeted twice by a Turkish strike. A year later, we returned to the strike location with Hashim and his wife.
هل أنت متأكد من إنه الكسف اللي تعرضت له كان من طيارة تركية؟
طيارة تركية يعني كردستان شمال العراق نينا طيارة كسب بس تركي بس طيارة تركيتين وين صاروخ ماذا؟ قاسبودوي مبينو ساعات 6 بو 7 40 دقيقة مبينو هردو قاسبود 40 دقيقة بون
Hashim was injured, but he survived. His cousin Alan was not so lucky. Alan was 24 years old and a stage 4 cancer patient. This is Hashim, filmed soon after the strike when he was recovering. He describes what happened. The PKK is known to enlist the help of local people. But Hashim says he's had no connection with the group.
برأيك ليش استخدفوك؟
خودي أجي نزار راستي بسبب يوال مكي. أنا تشتاق نما.
The conflict in northern Iraq has gone largely unreported. But there's one organization that records information about the casualties of Turkey's military action. A human rights group called Community Peacemaker Teams.
Since 1991 until now, 711 people have been killed and injured only in the Turkish military operations. They have been killed in their villages, on their farming field, while they were driving, while they were home. There were not any PKK guerrillas, there were not any armed people inside the farm. 157 other people were killed and injured while they were home. There were not any PKK and armed people inside their homes.
Kamaran maintains that even if a person was linked to the PKK, it still wouldn't make them a legitimate military target.
It is the Iraqi government role to investigate, arrest these people, and then having a fair court hearing. When Turkey is deciding someone is affiliated with PKK, they don't give any space for that person to defend themselves. Like they are just deciding they are coming to Iraqi Kurdistan and they are killing them.
The group gathers evidence in the form of the victims' personal details.
We are writing the name of the person, the date of birth, the day of the incident, and the location of the incident. And also we have the death certificate, what is the reason and the cause of the death.
As we look more closely at Hashim and Alan's case, we'll find that it reveals some disturbing aspects of the Kurdish government's relations with Turkey. Turkish troops have a long history of pursuing PKK militants across the border. In the 90s, these actions had the blessing of Iraq's former president, Saddam Hussein, then waging his own war against the Kurds. Today, the fight against the PKK is led by the president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
Bölücü örgütün, unutmayın, son çırpınışlarıdır.
The BBC repeatedly asked the Turkish authorities for an interview to discuss the matters raised in this film. They declined our requests. Dr. Zeynep Kaya is a Turkish academic who specializes in this conflict. She explains why the Turkish government is so hostile to the PKK.
This increased autonomy, decentralization, and potentially, in the long term, an independent Kurdistan is seen as a significant threat, an existential threat for the Turkish state. The military operations and their nature and their scale gradually increased over time. So the more the PKK military activity expanded, the more then the Turkish military operations also expanded in northern Iraq.
Bombardment from the air and occasional incursions on the ground brought only limited success. Developments in neighboring Syria were also becoming a concern for Turkey. It regarded the rebel Syrian Democratic Forces as a branch of the PKK. 2018 was the crucial year. Turkey started building many more military bases inside the Forbidden Zone.
They felt the need to deepen their operations. They felt the need to establish bases to be able to control the developments on the ground much more effectively. And this obviously has long-term aims as well.
At the same time, Turkey's policy in the Middle East was undergoing a major shift, especially with regard to Syria and Iraq.
It was much more involved, it was much more interventionist. So we need to understand the creation of buffer zone within that framework, within that wider framework in the shift in Turkish foreign policy in the region.
It's risky to approach the Turkish bases, but there is another way to see them up close, by traveling with the Iraqi border guard. Our destination is their outpost near the village of Kashan. We're inside the Forbidden Zone, 14 kilometers south of Iraq's border with Turkey.
غوشن حوالين نقول يا الله يلا بلي معنا يودتون نقول بلندن ولا بلندن.
General Farhad Mahmoud is in charge of the sector.
هاي نقطة عسكرية هي تركيا؟
نعم.
بس هذا داخل الأراضي العراقية مو؟
نعم.
The Turkish base is clearly visible on the other side of the valley. It's 10 kilometers south of the border and well inside Iraqi territory. It's one of 4 Turkish bases on the same mountain ridge.
القوات التركية متواجدين هاي المنطقة بحجة الحزب العمال الكردستاني تواجد مجاميع صغيرة هاي المنطقة.
But it seems there are limits to the general's knowledge of Turkey's military presence.
عندكم فكرة كم عدد القواعد
لا.
التركية
لا.
في هذه المنطقة؟
لا.
ما عندكم فكرة؟
نعم.
ليش؟
ما نقدر نصل على خط الحدود حتى ندري عدد المخاطر.
The border guard's job is to protect Iraq's international boundaries. It reports to the central government in Baghdad. From what we can see, it's almost as if Turkey has pushed the border south and is now in control of Iraqi territory.
في رأيك هل هذه القواعد التركية تمثل انتهاكاً للسيادة العراقية؟
لا.
لغرض
الجهات السياسية.
الموضوع يعني مو هذا السؤال ما يتوجه لنا كجيش وكعسكر يعني.
As part of our investigation, we've created a detailed map of Turkey's military installations in northern Iraq. By gathering information from satellite images and social media, we've been able to plot the exact positions of Turkey's military outposts and permanent bases. What we found shows the sheer scale of the Turkish presence. A few kilometers from here, near the village of Hiror, we visit another Iraqi outpost.
عندنا 4 نقاط ضمن هاي القرية.
هل نشوف من هذا المكان نقاط تركيا أيضا؟
نعم نعم
وين؟
نعم هاي نقاط تركيا، ذاك نقاط تركيا، هذه كلها نقاط تركيا.
We geolocate the base overlooking Hirol and find it's 6 kilometers inside Iraq. Satellite images reveal that it's much more substantial than a typical Iraqi outpost. Looking for facilities with similar features, we locate 6 more Turkish bases nearby. According to the general, the presence of these bases has caused the PKK to pull back.
تواجدهم ضعيفة تواجدهم في هاي المناطق الحدودية، تواجدهم باتت مثل ما أقول إلى الصفر تقريبا. نعم.
هذا السؤال، إذا وجودهم ضعيف
نعم.
لماذا باقين القوات التركية؟
خارج صلاحياتي هذا السؤال. نعم.
The border guards try to project an image of strength, but Turkey is a regional powerhouse on which Iraq depends for trade, investment, and water security. The Baghdad government has little leverage to expel Turkish troops. After decades of struggle, Kurds in Iraq, unlike those in Turkey, live in an area that's now largely under their control. Since 2005, the Kurdish regional government has officially been in charge. It's dominated by the Kurdistan Democratic Party, or KDP, whose close ties with Turkey have contributed to the region's economic success. Hoshea Zebari joined the KDP in 1970. He went on to hold senior positions in both the Kurdish and Iraqi governments. As a member of the KDP's Politburo, he's been closely involved in the party's relationship with Turkey.
A great degree of trust and confidence have been established that the Kurdish administration here is not a national security threat to Turkey. There is nothing to hide from each other.
The KDP and the PKK each claim to be the true champion of the Kurdish cause. In the past, they fought each other, and they remain bitter rivals.
We have serious differences with the PKK, the way they conducted their campaign, the way they resorted to extreme violence in Turkey, and have imposed themselves as a burden on us.
We weren't able to interview the PKK in Kurdistan. However, the group belongs to an umbrella organization called the Kurdistan National Congress, and a member of their executive committee agreed to speak.
Do you think that the PKK bears any responsibility for civilians that are killed in Turkish strikes?
Şimdi meseleyi o şekilde ele almak bence doğru değil. Evet, Kürtlerin de, Kürt örgütlerinde, PKK'nın da yanlış yaklaşımları olabilir. Ama bütün bu hiçbir şey Türkiye saldırılarını haklı çıkarmaz.
We spent a month in Iraqi Kurdistan speaking to Kurdish civilians as well as local officials, and they told us that they don't want the PKK there, and that PKK's presence in Iraqi Kurdistan has in fact invited Turkish troops to come in and occupy Kurdish land. What do you say to that?
Şimdi tabii ki bu KDP'nin de ciddi bir propagandasıdır. İşte eğer PKK olmasaydı Türkiye buralara müdahale etmezdi. Bu o şekilde bir yaklaşım doğru değil. Özgürlük istersen bunun bedelleri var. Bedelleri de göze alman lazım.
Our argument with them, you should conduct your campaign in Turkey in a peaceful, democratic way, and we will support you. But your presence here is illegitimate, is unacceptable. You are here against the will of our people.
As we widen our geographical focus, we find dozens more Turkish bases. not just a few isolated outposts, but seemingly an entire network of military facilities. They're expanding towards the Gara mountain range, a bastion of the PKK. But first, the Turkish forces have to control another mountain called Matin. It's the target of their current offensive. Between the two mountains is Amedi, the district's capital, and its most populated area. It's also a KDP stronghold. Nearby, at the foot of Matin, is the village of Sergele.
مثلا کوردی همین بین نول و بزمارا این بین خوست هستی چه پنج گنده این بین نول و بزمارا ده به حالیان دیگه به اول متینی ترکن و گاراژی پکه کنه همین بین هر دو گدا هر دوش حسوت صار خود تفن او صار میشه خود ما پاریزیتن اما
The Turkish military has been trying to take Matin for more than a year.
من او تونيلا كم مازني تويري في كوفي أو تونيل ناستوديا بقى تركوا أو تونيل ناستوديا حتى أو تونيل ناستوديا دروازة عرامنا بتوي منطقة خير.
Turkey's effective use of air power has forced a change in the PKK's tactics. Its fighters now shelter in a labyrinth of tunnels, which also serve as centers of operation.
هاي جبل شوف بها دخان ها هنا بها بقى شوف أبغى حوليان تركوا طبنا تونيلي رخاء بقى كيش طبنا جهتون دو مجيل كان دو ترك نب هذا مجيل نبن
Our research reveals that over the past 2 years, Turkey has built 7 new bases around Sergele. The closest is less than a kilometer from the village center. It's too dangerous to go near the bases, so we film from a distance. A powerful zoom lens reveals heavy fortifications protecting the base.
تتصور هاي القواعد بها جنود؟
خرجشت كده.
As Turkey expands its presence, it takes over more and more of the agricultural and forest land used by farmers like Sherwan. Much has been damaged by wildfires caused by shelling. Villagers risk their lives to put out the flames.
هكا واكدي چند مقره که دونه بو مخروبته يعني چند مقره که دونه وری فتر جهش ممنوع بن محرم بن
Sherwan's getting nervous. He's worried it's not safe for our BBC team to be seen here.
دوادوكي كاميرا باسا بيشي دوكي شوفوا درون ده باجي نبي مشكلة.
الشهيد أولون إسماعيل جيتشو بروري.
Hashem is visiting his cousin Alan's grave.
خود از گله بعیزون بس با مولویش پیچنوی. اگر از گله بعیزون جحیل بو شتو بچیک بحساب که.
In Iraqi Kurdistan, civilians killed in war have the right to be recognized as martyrs. This entitles their families to receive financial compensation. But we've heard that the Kurdish government resists recognizing many of those killed by Turkish military action as martyrs. If it did so, this would mean admitting Turkey's responsibility for their deaths. Even so, Hashim is determined to get compensation for Alan's family.
بجهول بهندي لازم بيتا شهيد شكي غادرة لبو غادرة كومازنا عدولة نينيا كو عدولة زحمتها بيرا
Kamaran is helping the family with the case. In his view, getting compensation is about having the right connections. It's time to discuss the case with Ismail, Alan's father.
السلام عليكم. كيف اسمع جان شوني؟ أحفظ شونو باشي؟
هو ألان بو؟ نعم. جهشتني ألان لعائلة كانت عند جي شون دياره. حزة كان بو باسي شون كاريجري وردا بسر عائلة وتشيبو.
هذا كاريجري. عمو دامر كذا. وأكو كاريجري دامر. نهتم ولا كت طالان جاي أو صح.
چه به تاوانبار دەزانن لەوەی کە بەسەر ئالاندا هاتبوو؟
خودی بەرپرس و تاوانبار تورکیایە و مەچ سیادە نینە عێراقی. یعنی کەس نینە بێشتێت تو بۆ چ هوتکەیە. کەس نەشێت بێشتێت تو بۆ چی هوتکەیە تو بۆ چی وێرە قەسەدکەی.
Ismail's experience has made him skeptical about getting justice under Kurdish law.
مگوتە حاکمیشی مگوتە شەی تورکیا پێ بحاسینی کو ئەف شولا کردی. ناوەڵا. تو نەشەی بۆ بچ ئەسکۆلای بکە. ودامە نەنویسە.
The family is also seeking compensation from the central Iraqi government. Much will depend on whether Alan's death certificate states the true cause of his death. But it was written by the local Kurdish authorities, and Ismail has his doubts.
طب العدل وبعدها الكسور والتحرقات والأنزفة الدموية أثر إصابة شظايا المواد متفجرة في مناطق مختلفة من الجسم. يعني تونيكا بريخوب دايما بيجي تشلكي تخابتية باقي.
The certificate says only that explosive fragments caused Alan's death, not that he was killed in an act of war.
تو أكب أوان بيداي بيدقوتن تد من أو بناوي دبي هو كاير راستقين.
لا قلتي بازات.
بدأ زاني أوان بيان ناي.
ليش ولا؟
The BBC has obtained confidential documents relating to Alan's case. The original police report, filed on the day of the strike, says a Turkish drone was responsible. But as the case advanced through the court system, all references to Turkey disappeared. The investigative court sent this letter requesting an autopsy. The accident type is described not as a Turkish attack, but as explosive fragments. The very same wording that later appears in Alan's death certificate. These documents suggest the authorities may have acted to cover up the true cause of death. And Alan's case is not the only one. Kamaran has collected the death certificates of 250 people he believes were killed in Turkish strikes.
In most of the death certificates, they only wrote infijar, which means explosion. Explosion can be a bottle of gas exploding. It can be a mine exploding. It can be anything exploding. So they don't want to write the right cause of the death.
Only 3 of these certificates cite Turkish bombardment as the cause of death.
So it seems that there is a concerted effort by Kurdish authorities to obstruct anybody who tries to bring Turkey to account.
There is no question about that, definitely.
It's election time in Kurdistan and people will soon be voting for the regional parliament. In Duhok, the KDP is holding a rally. All the party dignitaries are here, among them Masroor Barzani, the current prime minister. Masroor's cousin, Nechirwan, is the region's president.
ربازا بارزانی و کردایتیه سرکفتنا پارتی مسوگریا پاراستنا مافت همه خلق کردستان و یتوان بکاتانه اوید گلمد و ولاتی دادشین مسوگریا پاشا روژکا گشتره بو کردستانه.
The KDP controls one area of Iraqi Kurdistan bordering Turkey, while the other, next to Iran, is dominated by its rival, the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan. Each party has links to its powerful neighbor. All but one of the Turkish bases we've mapped are within KDP areas, a fact the PUK's leader points out at his own party rally. Turkey's military action is a major topic in the election campaign.
My understanding is there are more Turks military present in Iraq now than there are Americans. I think they also use the PKK as an excuse for interference inside Iraq, and I think they are here because they think that they need to support the KDP.
We've heard that Turkey already interferes in the lives of farmers in the territory it controls. Some have been stopped from working on their land. This village, Kanimasi, is only 4 kilometers from the border. It's overlooked by large Turkish bases. Salam Saeed is a farmer who owns orchards here.
تعالي اكلي من اظني طيب بشوك بس طيب تعالي اكلي تقريبا عندي 800 شجرة تفاح وعندي 150 جوجة تقريبا أكثرية احترقت من القصف. يعني والله صار تقريبا 80 ورقة خليت على هذا البستان الفوق راح كله راح احترق. ايش نسوي ما نقدر يعني صعب شوية. اي والله.
Salam used to grow grapes on another piece of land close to a Turkish base. But his vineyard was destroyed by shellfire, and for the past 3 years he's been banned from even visiting it.
ما يعني خلونا نطلع من القرى بالليل ما نقدر نسقي بساتين يعني بالليل ما تقدر تجي. إذا ما ناخذ أمر من الناحية ومن الأسايش ما يخلون نعبر إلى لجنة التنسيق.
The coordination committee links Turkish intelligence with the Kurdish military, the Peshmerga, and Kurdistan's internal security force, known as the Asayish.
نروح على الأسايش نخبرهم يابا احنا نريد نروح على البستان، يقول له اكو مجال يخلون، إذا ماكو مجال ما يخلون.
بس منو ياخذ الكراك في الراك؟ الاتراك او اسايش؟
اسايش ياخذ من الاتراك، امر منهم.
We're told that permissions are rarely granted.
في رايك وجودهم هنا يرقى الى مستوى احتلال؟
والله تقريبا بس ما يقولون احنا جايين على حزب العمال، طرد حزب العمال. هلا بس يريدون عالم ينهزم من هاي المناطق، يعني يصير منطقة عسكرية متروكة، بس هذا يريدون. مو على هاي الشغلة، هم يقولون احنا ما ادري يا سنة جايين هنا وقديم بدا وقت العثمانيين، هاي مناطقنا كلها قديم، نريد نلزم نفس المناطق.
When there is war, the civilians are the first to suffer. Turkish dealing with the civil population have been more humane than the PKK.
The civilians we spoke would disagree on that.
I don't know, you may have some incidents.
They describe the Turks as actively preventing them from reaching their land.
No, I will challenge that. I know people, I know villagers, I know regions. The Turks have not prevented them. Maybe in the beginning there has been such incident, but these things have relaxed.
Residents of Kanimasi report seeing Turkish military convoys, mostly at night.
تقريبا بالعشرة بالإحدى بالعشرة ونص يجون، يعني قوات تركيا تدخل يعني أرزاقهم يجيبون، مرات تبديل عسكري يجون تقريبا 200 سيارة 100 سيارة يجون، تقريبا بالثنتين بثلاثة يرجعون.
We position ourselves on a hill above the main road and wait. Before long, there's a convoy of trucks and personnel carriers. Over the next few hours, dozens more pass by. They're moving freely, which suggests cooperation with the Kurdish authorities.
We will not confront them unless they encroach into our strategic or vital interest to enter into, for instance, into population centers, into our main road networking, okay? Or to set up checkpoints, or to harass our population. No, these are our red lines.
Do you know how many Turkish bases there are inside Iraqi Kurdistan?
You could go and count many. These bases, for your information, were there since 92. They are not new, okay? And the reason was to prevent the PKK from expanding.
Does the KDP know how many Turkish bases there are?
Yes, we know, of course.
How many are there?
You name it. I have no problem with it.
Our analysis shows that as of December 2024, there were at least 136 Turkish bases in northern Iraq.
If you can take a look at this map, you see how widespread
I'm seeing it. I know this region like the back of my hand.
Sure, but then I'm asking you...
Do you know why?
Look how widespread it is.
Do you know why? Well, I was Peshmerga. I was fighting there. Hell by hell. See.
We have a satellite image for each and every one.
Even so, but these are not bases. These are posts, military posts. They have 2 or 3 main bases.
Let's call them bases or posts. They're still fixed military structures inside Iraqi Kurdistan.
It's the nature of the military operation. They have to protect themselves, their communication lines.
Of the 136 bases we identified, 121, or 89%, have been built since 2018. Throughout this period, the KDP has been in power.
Based on our analysis, it means that you have lost sovereignty over thousands of square kilometers of land.
These areas are all uninhabited and populated, for your information. And the reason, again, was the PKK who denied our people to go back to their homes. So it's a no-man land.
So you're saying that there are no civilians who
No, there are in
land?
between some civilians, but they will not interfere in their day-to-day work, in their business, in their communication, going to their fields, and so on.
We'd found other evidence that seems to show Turkey's influence over the Kurdish authorities. We first met Hashim Shakar in August 2023, when he was recovering from the strike that killed his cousin. Back then, he'd filed a complaint demanding justice and compensation. 3 days later, he was arrested.
When someone is publicly saying what Turkey is doing a crime, they have been arrested and being accused to be affiliated with PKK. Some people has filed the complaint, and after 2 days, security forces and the local authorities have communicated them and told them you should withdraw your complaint and don't talk about that.
Hashim has remained silent about his arrest. He was accused of aiding the PKK and kept in prison for 8 months. Other survivors of Turkish attacks have also been investigated and arrested, suggesting that Turkish and Kurdish intelligence work closely together.
If you would cooperate with a country militarily, it goes hand in hand to cooperate with their intelligence. Often one finishes the other relationship.
How does that look like on the ground, for example? Is it exchange of information? Is it follow-up on strike survivors?
All of the above. I think there is complete harmony between the Turkish KDP military and the Turkish and KDP intelligence services.
So does the Asayish act upon intelligence provided by the Turkish military or the intelligence?
Absolutely not, no. We know better intelligence than the Turks. You see, the PKK are isolated. They rely on smugglers, okay, to get their food, their supplies, their medicine, and some people collaborate with them, okay? These are the people whom they are questioned.
Election day in Kanimasi, and Salam's daughters are getting ready to vote. For them, as for many Iraqi Kurds, the Barzani family is synonymous with Kurdish autonomy.
Çünkü az küçük Kurdum, jbal mala Barzan, دفتن از جلك كردي بكمه بله هر مالا بارزان خالمت كتا خدان حتى امشين به آزادی دابش چونکو همی گفت امنیت گل مالا بارزان من بهت همی گفت مالا بارزان بیتیا ایکم.
Outside the polling station, the voters' names are listed alphabetically.
أسماء أيامهم هسه الناحية كم قرية بالناحية يعرفون كم ناس بي عندهم حق التصويت وكم واحد يصوتون شو المن يصوتون الما رايح مبين يعني يبين سلام وعائلته ما جايين للتصويت.
When the election results come in, the KDP has won 39 out of 100 seats, making them again the biggest party in parliament. And this support doesn't seem to have been much affected by Turkey's military presence.
That was one of their key themes in the election. And despite that, to prove you that the KDP is still the upholder of Kurdish nationalism, values, justice for the Kurds, democratic rights, we came with 800,000 voters.
Despite the KDP's grip on power and its closeness to Turkey, it hasn't brought stability to the region's borders. On both sides, the PKK remains a threat.
Yani Türkiye PKK'yi ortadan kaldırsa bile sorun hallolmuş değil. Yine başka Kürtler çıkar, aynı şekilde yine sorun devam eder. Ya şimdi mesele şurada, Türkiye'nin Kürt politikası değişmeden bu çatışmalar bitmez.
Our evidence suggests Turkey's military installations may be here for some time, thanks in part to the KDP, according to its main rival.
It's undisputed. You see many of their troops helping the Turkish troops. You see them helping them logistically. You see them moving around. Sometimes you even see them together.
Turkish influence in the Middle East is increasing, and Iranian influence has taken a big blow because of what happened in Syria and what happened in Israel in relation to Hamas. Another factor is this gradual US withdrawal. With the US withdrawal, there will be a gap of influence. So I think Turkey is trying to fill that security, military, political, economic kind of space.
Don't you think that the fact that Turkey has been able to establish such a vast military presence inside your territory means that the KDP has failed its people?
Not at all. They are not harming our people, our population. They are not detaining them. They are not interfering in their going about their business. Okay? Their focus, their sole goal is the PKK, not our population.
But Turkey's footprint has already left an indelible impression.
O Turkey vera, Turk ava o vera. O verash. Av doru borana hela. Po qashki khar shafari hafari doye. Abi gaba bada bi madaka toza ma al-asaf.
Here in the Forbidden Zone, people's lives have changed, perhaps forever.
مولد وان خرا ویرابی. یخوام الله کی براینا. این نوانده چون اروپا روین اما واسه جریمه جنجمه خرچو. بس آوی گویو از بود جمعگیری بوی تصویری. از بانا کم افاز آزارته.
Hashem is now back home. More than 18 months after his cousin Alan was killed, he has yet to be recognized as a martyr. His family is still waiting, if not for compensation, then at least for acknowledgement.
نقول بلا بس قد باخد عفو قد ما قربوا وجنت بيها بس وقت ديكو أو بيجن أندومت بقى كنا أبا تهمتك أو بخوب دي في خالكي فانين وكي هر كساكي
لا ناس أكمل الرسول يديش ليش تبدأ صحيح شو تشتاق شو خلاص
The court closed its investigation while Hashem was in jail. The judge said the perpetrator's identity was unknown. A police report states that investigators didn't visit the site of the strike because it's inside the Forbidden Zone. The BBC asked the Turkish Ministry of National Defense for more information about the incident. They denied having carried out a strike on that day.